I'm Kejan Haynes. Can you believe it? This is our 20th episode. Thanks for putting up with me for this long. So we have a great show tonight and we're going to get started. National security had the best or worst or weirdest week ever. You couldn't get a more perfect storm than Monday. See, Monday was the 25th anniversary of the attempted coup, and the cops were doing to Abu Bakr what they should have done back in 1990, which was frisk him. But this was because he was entering the courthouse. And what was he doing in a courthouse mere meters away from the Red House? Well, he was there to lend support to Dana's 11, the 11 men charged with a murder appearing in court for the first time. And the police, not wanting prison break 2, sent everything they had to the Port of Spain Magistrates Court.
A heavily armed convoy of police and prisons officers escorting murder-accused Rajai Ali and 10 others to the Port of Spain Magistrates Court to answer charges in the murder of senior counsel Dana Sital, who was shot and killed on May 4th last year. A national security helicopter circled the perimeters of the court for hours, while heavily armed police officers from the Criminal Gang Intelligence Unit and other departments made their presence felt on the ground.
But you see, there's a reason why you're told not to put all your eggs in one basket, or in this case, all your police in front of one courthouse, because you miss things like this. They called him a fallen soldier, so they sent him off with a 21-gun salute of sorts. The crowd doesn't flinch. Instead, there are cheers at the sound of gunfire ringing through the night air at the Monroe Road Public Cemetery. Moments later, as the crowd disperses, more shots. I mean, it's like that scene in The Dark Knight Returns where Gotham's entire police force went into the sewers and got trapped. I mean, because the police had to end up asking for the public's help to identify any of the shooters in the video. And of course, good luck with that. Because I think it's time that the police stop relying solely on the public to be their main source of intelligence. And speaking of intelligence, we have to discuss what happened on Wednesday. Someone leaked a confidential memo about a supposed threat to the Prime Minister and her house. Also, this is around the same time that this happened a few years ago. Remember the $5 million hit on the Prime Minister just before the election, but neither here nor there. But it was the reverse email gate in this case. It turns out the email was real, but the content was false.
An official memo issued to all field stations from the Police Service Special Branch Unit. In the correspondence, the unit said it had received information that the Jamaat al-Muslimin was moving arms to the north and San Fernando. The report also indicates that the group was planning to target the Prime Minister's private residences in Philippine and Siparia, all part of an attempt to free 11 men currently facing murder charges. It took several hours before the police service made a statement about this alleged impending attack. While admitting it is an official document, Acting Police Commissioner Stephen Williams said, "For now, it's just a rumor."
And of course, despite it being just a rumor, it didn't stop everybody from rushing home. And it's understandable that everybody would want to go home. Emancipation Day is on a Saturday. It's the second holiday in a row on a Saturday. You kind of feel cheated. You want to go home. But here's what I can't get mad at you for that. But here's what I can get mad at. The media's coverage. It's one thing for rumors to pass around on social media. It's our job to either confirm its authenticity or debunk it. But there were several members of the media tweeting a picture of the release saying, well, here's a copy of the release that's been going around. I'm not entirely sure if it's true. I mean, the irony of that was this is the same day, early in the day, Matt issued a release commending the media for its mostly responsible reporting during the prison break on Friday. Now, I know we know better because there was a rumor going around about what was supposed to happen during the CPL final. Did you hear about it? You probably did. Did you hear about it on the news? No, because you don't report unsubstantiated claims. I mean, Jack Warner found that out the hard way.
Anand Ramlogan emerged victorious. Political foe Jack Warner has been ordered by the court to pay nearly $1 million in damages. $600,000 in general damages, $200,000 in exemplary damages paid when the defendant's acts are ruled to be malicious, $94,000 in prescriptive costs, and the full cost of Mr. Ramlogan's legal team.
Talking nonsense is expensive. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister says that she's going to unleash a slew of more letters, pre-action protocol letters, after September 7th. Oh no, I almost forgot. Speaking of unsubstantiated claims, the UNC campaign strategy just does not want to end. This no Rowley thing is keeping media people away from doing real stories. And as a friend put it, they went from the sublime to the downright ridiculous and did this.
The chicken is not normally the animal used by his detractors to describe Dr. Keith Rowley. Typically, it's the Rottweiler they compare him to. But the UNC's campaign team distributed these clucking fowl to journalists today to make their point that Dr. Rowley is skipping out on tonight's CNMG debate because he's chickened out.
By the way, those checked it up on Amazon, about $6 US for one of those, and Lord alone knows how many they actually bought. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. We're going to discuss the exchange after the break.
Dr. Lehman, these numbers, they can't be right.
I wish they weren't.
The trajectory, that means it's heading
Right for us.
Sir, I have incoming and it's huge.
You can't waste the big missile. So what, we're just supposed to let 17,000 people die? Oh, what good is saving 17,000? You lose the whole planet in the morning.
It's a race against time to save the planet. Part 1 of the movie Meteor is on this Sunday at 8:30 p.m. here on TV6.
Trinidad and Tobago, don't miss out on incredible in-ring action live every Monday night at 8 p.m. Watch me, WWE superstar Kofi Kingston, lay the boom on my opponents, plus catch all the drama between the WWE divas. It's all here, only on CCN TV 6. Lights flashing when we step in the place, and you can feel the raw excitement from the...
Welcome back. So CNMG went ahead with their leaders exchange with only one leader. But we keep saying that no matter how hard the Prime Minister tries, she ends up looking a lot like her predecessor, Patrick Manning. Because when he didn't want to debate, this is the exact same thing that he did. This is him in 2010. Maybe the production value this time was a little bit better, but it was still a conversation between the Prime Minister and a panel of 3 journalists. Now, she took some questions from the social media, but we're not entirely sure how legit those were. Of course, there are some people who are saying they're not entirely sure how legit the questions from the panelists were as well. So let's talk about the panelists. Derek Ramsamouge, economist, Dr. Morgan Job, our UNC minister at the time when she was also in the same cabinet, and Aisha Wells, a radio talk show host, aligned to the PNM supposedly. But 90 minutes of uninterrupted airtime, and this is the only question that we can remember.
Prime Minister, my last question is a controversial question, but I think it's necessary. It was the same question that was asked of Barack Obama in his run-up to the elections, and my question to you is, do you smoke marijuana?
Answer is no. Definitely no.
Meanwhile, the people of Tobago are like, that was your last question? Because for that entire 90 minutes exchange, I don't think I heard the word Tobago and Tobago policy at all. I mean, then again, you have other questions that were missed, like Morgan Job, as smart as he couldn't ask a question without telling his entire life story first. At one point, Paul Richards had to jump in and be like, yo, hurry it up.
We live in a globalized world. Yeah. We're not living in Trinidad and Tobago. And we need to understand that this question of national borders is a long-time thing. So that we need to fix our minds into that global context. So what is the question is, what are your...
And after every super long Morgan Job question, there was one particular answer that launched this super long hashtag that cannot fit in our entire screen.
And you will find Sweden, Denmark, Norway, Canada are some of the least. What are we learning from that? Is it that fair-skinned people in Northern Europe are less corrupt than dark-skinned people in Africa and India? There must be something to do with institutions and culture. How is your government integrating that knowledge, that understanding, to deal with this question of corruption?
I think, have you ever seen a TV series? The name of it is The Vikings. the very same fair-skinned Scandinavian people you're speaking of. And you've seen their history from invading the shores, going into the churches in England, you know, and stealing all the whatever artifices, objects they could find in churches and so on. I say that because it is a level of development and education. How will we deal with it? How we are attempting to deal with it is only, I think, through education and training.
Anyway, it's never easy to interview anyone live, much less the Prime Minister. But Lasana Liebert has a great article where he says, no interview is worth anything without a follow-up question. And it doesn't even have to be anything profound. So there were so many moments where, you know, it was easy to just look at the Prime Minister and say, what?
And I'm looking to, in our new term, to create a separate Ministry of Defense. At the moment, we have ministries that are Ministry of Justice, Legal Affairs, Attorney General, National Security. Under National Security, you have the police service falling, protective services, and including the defense force. But I'm looking to a model I've seen in more developed countries where we can have a Ministry of Defense dealing with those matters and dealing with border controls. That too can assist us, I think, administratively in locking down the borders.
I'm not sure how you let that one slide, because this government is already accused of having one of the largest cabinets in the world. And of course, she listed how many. And she already listed how many dissolved ministries there are, and now adding another one to the list. And as far as I know, what the U.S. did was, instead of creating several ministries, they put one big one and called it the Department of Homeland Security. Anyhow, so we'll add that one as the UNC's wall of promises this week. But the long and the short of it is, if CNMG doesn't want to continue to appear biased, if they're not going to debate, they also need to afford Dr. Keith Rowley and the PNM an equal 90 minutes to, well, debate himself. But here's a PNM promise for the future of the state-owned media house.
I think that the CNMG position, something that she's well entitled to do, we certainly won't stop her for that, but that doesn't qualify as a debate.
Glad you raised that CNMG position. Do you feel that the Prime Ministers are abusing the state-owned media house? And what is the PNM's plan for the state-owned media house should they come into power on September 8th?
Fazir Mohammed is famous for saying that he took pleasure in beating the PNM while he worked for CNMG. He never once was interfered with. I don't think that that's the same story that was told after this government came into power. We had a particular plan for CNMG, which was to be an independent entity which was capable of holding its own in the private sector as well, notwithstanding the fact that it's a state-sponsored company. And I think that getting back to that so that there is value for money and quality is critical, but one cannot interfere with the media, and certainly one cannot put in to effect a management structure which makes CNMG appear the way it does right now. I don't think it's the PNM's view that the CNMG seems to be a station which is heavily influenced by government position. I think a public sentiment that is the case. I think that there has to be some balance. I know a number of the reporters and people there. They're excellent journalists that work there, and I'm sure that all they want is an environment which will foster an independent portrayal of the media and for people to do their jobs.
Let's take a break. We'll be right back.
I'm just Jace. Welcome to the new season of Cuisine Caravan. Let's go.
It's about places of interest, the sights and tastes along the way, the people who live there, and their unique style of cooking local flavorful culinary favorites. It's the new season of Cuisine Caravan, hosted by Just Jace. Tune in to TV6 on Sundays at 8 p.m. with repeats on Wednesdays at 4:30 p.m. and Thursdays at 1 p.m. Cuisine Caravan Season 2, only on TV6.
그쪽이 갑자기 궁금해졌어요. 난 꼭 가고 싶은 길이 있고 무슨 짓을 해서든 거기까지 가봐야겠어. 제발 은기한테 가지 마.
내가 널 어떻게 살려놨는데 보람도 없이 죽여.
It's got all the ingredients of a spicy soap opera. Intrigue, love and deception. It's An Innocent Man. Catch it on TV6 Mondays, Tuesdays and Fridays in the TV6 soap block at 2:30 p.m.
right, welcome back. So maybe you may have noticed that we didn't have our late o'clock news segment this week, and that's not only because that exchange was about as satirical as anything could get, but no, we actually have on set with us the members of the only legitimate news source in the Caribbean, the guys from the late o'clock news. So let's introduce them right now. So furthest away from me, Stephen Taylor; in the middle, Angelo Hart; and closest to me, Kwame Weeks. So, gentlemen, welcome to the show. Everybody loves the segment that you guys do and loves what you do online every week. So, I'll start with you, Stefan. Just walk me through the birth of the Late O'Clock News.
Well, Angela and I have been childhood friends, so we used to talk about it ever so often, but it was never anything really concrete. And then one day, he just got up and decided, you know what, I'm going to put out a fake news story and I'm going to give misinformation. And after that, Kwame ended up joining and Kwame ended up contributing. And well, I saw what was happening. I was like, hey, you can't leave me out of this situation. So I came in as well.
So you came in last when you get in was already good.
But it didn't get good yet.
So Stefan, what was that first story that you came up with, and what did you spoof?
The first story I came up with was Arnold Roberts declared that, as Minister of Sport, he declared that cricket and football were removed as national pastimes, and corruption was the new national pastime. Right?
Angelo, so walk me through it. What is the editorial process like in the Late O'Clock News on any given day, week?
Well, basically we monitor social media and we monitor the less skillful media houses in Trinidad and Tobago for any kind of breaking stories.
Well, you mean, do you mean in particular, or you just mean because you are the only legitimate news source, everybody else is less?
That is correct.
Continue.
Yeah, so we basically keep an eye out for any breaking stories, any trending topics that may not necessarily be news, like the infamous fight that happened on the Avenue several months ago. And then we just come together online and we brainstorm, we throw out ideas, we write drafts for each other to edit. And once we've decided on a story, we publish it.
What's a successful story, Kwame? Is it shares, or is it people who actually believe that the story is actually true?
Well, it's definitely not the latter. We would count a successful story as one that went viral, got a certain amount of shares. We usually use 3,000 views as our benchmark for a good story.
And how many do you get on average, though?
On average, what's the average right now?
Average,
we have like
5,000 to 6,000
per day. Yeah, per day.
Yeah.
Because some of our articles would go ridiculously viral, getting over 30,000 views on the day that is posted, and that balances out over the month.
And I mean, that actually goes even further than, I'm not going to lie, some of our stories, some of our actually legitimate news sources. But how do you do that? What is it that you consider a good story, and what makes it viral? What makes a good satire piece go viral? Anybody?
Well, it depends. Sometimes we are as surprised as you would be. We think we have it down to our science. We would come up with the perfectly well-crafted headline, because it's the headline that usually catches people, and a good picture as well to go along with it. And sometimes the article that we think is great because it's funny to us doesn't hit, and then the article that we don't think would make it hits. So it's difficult to come up with our science, but definitely when a topic is a talking point in a country, everybody is talking about it. For instance, the CPL match and the prison break that just happened on the same weekend.
People thought that was real. I mean, and after all this time, the 8 o'clock news has been around for, it's been popular, and been mainstream for at least the last year. And there's still people who are believing your story. So how do you...
It's strange.
I've actually noticed that there's a growing number of people who recognize that we do satire. In the beginning, a majority of the people reading our stories thought that it was true, but lately I've seen that demographic slowly whittling into a minority. I would like to think that a majority of our fans do understand that our news is satirical.
And I think they appreciate it more. They appreciate that this is humor. They come for the jokes.
They come for jokes.
And well, let's look at it from a business perspective. Is there money in humor?
Definitely. I would say so. I mean, it's one thing to be doing it for the love of a joke and for the love of satire, but for it to be a bread and butter, it has to be economically viable in some way.
Yeah. And I understand that there's expansion happening as well. This is maybe not just Trinidadian, but we're thinking, what, regional, global at some point?
Yeah, we are setting out to expand regionally, but a few of our articles have accidentally gone viral abroad.
Like which ones?
The Pope declares fornication is no longer a sin.
Google buying Trinidad for $30 billion.
For whatever reason, none of us know that article went viral in West Africa. To this very day, when we look at because when you look at the analytics on the website, it tells you what search engine terms people use to end up on your websites and where. And places like Ghana, Nigeria, New Guinea, all searching for the article.
So that one blew up. And the Google one, I will tell you, there are still people sending the Google article to our TV6 email and saying, guys, check this out. Why haven't you all covered this story?
Why haven't you all, though?
Yeah. I mean, that's an important question. But when you do stories like these, how important is timing? Sometimes a story may break, and within minutes we see a headline. And obviously a lot of people, when they share it, they're like, wow, these guys don't waste time. How important is timing in these things?
Timing is impeccable. It's pretty impeccable, because you don't want to wait until the hype around the story has died down in order to publish an article. I think, like, because we release headlines so soon, there's a bit of confusion between whether it's real or not, because you have a lot of people looking for the information on what is happening. And they see, well, 8 o'clock news, they click on it, they say, maybe it's an official news source, click on it, read the article, and they're like, they get fooled.
And the importance of timing grows as well with Twitter, because Twitter is real time. So as an event is happening, people are always talking about it. And Trini Twitter is full of jokes. So sometimes if you don't get out ahead of it,
you have to
miss the opportunity.
Or it can sound like you following everybody else. Be like, well, I hear that joke already. So you have to be on the ball. Have you ever gotten in trouble? We're talking about people maybe believing it's true. You ever gotten any kind of trouble? Any pre-action protocol letters?
Sadly, no.
Then you're not a legitimate news source.
We plan to frame our first one, though.
I plan to frame my first one too. But let's talk about the building of the website and all of that. How have you grown from, this website is now a place that people come to in terms of designing the website? Is there a special design that you need that attracts people to the site? Or is it just the headlines, the bare minimum, and everybody will come anyway?
No, there was a deliberation process as to what the website would look like. We want something functional that would have been easy on the reader's eyes.
Yeah, and it's a WordPress site that we use right now, so we make the site mobile friendly, because the majority of our readers come from, they access it through their phones. So there's a point as well, but mostly is the headlines that would attract people to the site.
Now, obviously, politicians are very easy targets. On this show we do it all the time, but who do you avoid? Who's out of bounds?
We tend to not target the downtrodden or people under certain oppressive situations. We have a policy against things like rape jokes or certain racist jokes.
Certain.
Well, yeah, we lampoon racism, but we try to do so without coming across as racist, because one of the risks that you run as a satirist is that you can easily be accused of perpetrating the same behavior or the same ideas that you are satirizing.
So we need to really look at the context of the jokes that we're writing.
Like, for instance, the situation with the Chinese national who was skinning the dog, and a lot of the jokes in Trinidad were targeting Chinese Trinidadians.
They were racist.
Yeah.
And so you avoided that?
Yes,
and skirted around it?
Yeah.
Our joke was, well, the joke that everybody else was saying is that the Chinese are cooking dogs and feeding us without us knowing it. But we ran with the joke that the reason there aren't many stray dogs on the road anymore is because the dogs are being employed by Chinese. Yeah, and that went viral as well.
And how do you make fun of something, let's say, we have to talk about it because we were talking about it earlier, this exchange on Thursday night with the Prime Minister and herself where, you know, do you all sit around and actually have serious discussions and be like, oh boy, you know, this would be funny if it wasn't actually so serious? Do you ever actually have those sort of moments? You know what I'm talking?
All the time. We always say, like, Trinidad is trying to do our job for us. Yeah. Because there's so many articles, so many stories that come out that seem to be satire in and of itself. Yeah. You know, you wonder how you could top it.
Yeah. When you sat around, I mean, you're looking forward to the election season, obviously there's no lack of material. What are you looking forward to most in the lead up to the election? Anything special, any sort of special election coverage?
It's interesting that you said that, because now that elections are coming up and you're just bombarded with all these political stories, at one point in time we actually did get fed up with doing political satire.
Yeah.
So what did you replace it with?
We decided to do more social stories, cultural stories, more everyman stories.
Yeah.
And people appreciate it because they get fed up as well about here, and every week Jack will have something to reveal to the Trinidad and Tobago.
Is this a full-time job?
We hope it could be quite soon.
But right now
we have plans. We have plans.
But we do put an enormous amount of effort into it.
Yeah. And is this the entire team, or is there somebody else? Do you all take freelance writers? Do people pitch you ideas?
A guy doing graphics for us.
Who would not like to be.
Oh. he's a secret guy. He's a financier that you all cannot name.
Editing.
He's the graphic artist. Sometimes he would make a graphic particularly for a story.
Yeah.
But what about freelance writers? Do people come to you and write you and say, boy, I could write a real good story?
Well, recently, actually just yesterday, we started to do community posts. Yeah, because the amount of people that were sending in stories, it was overwhelming. So now we decided, well, this is your platform,
right?
You know, to air your concerns.
But then how do you divide the community post from your stuff, and what happens if, you know, the community post doesn't fit into your editorial content?
Right, well, when we officially released it yesterday, other people have been sending us things for months. We said that we reserve the right to edit whatever people send in. So we'll only accept things that fit our brand, and also we separate it. We have a particular label on the menu on the website that says community post, and when we post it as well, we would say that this is a community post by the writer if he or she wishes to be named.
So of course the website is laterclocknews.com. How did you come up with the name? Last question. Who came up with the name? How did you come up with the name Later Clock News?
Yeah, I didn't really put much thought into coming up with the name. I just wanted something wacky,
right?
And you know, something not serious. Though it is funny that people think some of our stories are real, I wanted to kind of hint that it is, at the end of the day, a comedy website.
All right, so that's Later Clock News. Stephen Taylor, Angelo Hart, Kwame Weeks. You could check out their Later Clock News. They have a little segment with us every week on In Conclusion, and people love it. People are always looking out for it. We're going to take a break and be right back to wrap the show.
I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
Today, President Mandela takes office in Pretoria.
This is a day.
His people needed a leader. He gave them a champion. Morgan Freeman and Matt Damon are in Invictus tonight at 9 here on TV6.
All right, that's it for our 20th episode of In Conclusion. Only a few episodes of the show left, actually, believe it or not. But for now, a brand new week of news begins right now.